So 12.0.5 was just released into WoW, and with it, we got one of the biggest changes to gearing we've gotten in a long time through the Voidforge. So that's what I wanted to go over in this video, everything you need to know about the Voidforge and the bonus role tokens that comes along with it. And just a small disclaimer, there are two different pieces or systems tied to the Voidforge. There are nebulous void cores, which are things you can go obtain right now. These are the bonus role tokens. Then there are ascendant void cores, which are going to allow you to upgrade hero or myth track gear, but these aren't currently obtainable. You have to wait another 4 weeks to get the ascendant void cores out of this system. So in this video, we are primarily going to be going over the nebulous void cores, which are the bonus role tokens, and we're going to go over all of the intricacies with these and how to obtain them, because depending on what content you want to use these on, they are going to work in a bit of a different way. And to start off, you'll have to do a quest chain to unlock and power up the Voidforge. That's if you haven't been keeping up with these, because every week since the launch of the expansion, there is a weekly quest with a specific NPC that you can pick up and complete that, and that was powering up the Voidforge. But if you haven't done any of those quests or you haven't been keeping up with it, you can go do all 6 of these quests right now, back to back to back to back, to be able to power up the Voidforge. It just may take a little bit of time. So to start this quest chain, you're going to go to the Voidstorm, and the city you spawn in when you teleport here, you will go over and talk to Decimus, and he'll be easy to find because he will have the tutorial quest icon, which is just the purple triangle. And once you go talk to him, he will have a quest called Building the Voidforge, and all this will want you to do is to go get these void core shards from either defeating season 1 raid bosses, completing bountiful delves, or completing mythic plus runs. And again, if you haven't done any of these quests so far, you'll have to go do this 6 different times. Now, it seems that doing any of the things I just mentioned will give you one of these shards, so you'll have to go complete 3 bountiful delves and loot the chest at the end with the key, complete 3 mythic plus runs, or defeat 3 raid bosses. So if you're trying to do bountiful delves or run mythic plus runs, this can get pretty time consuming, and if you're only doing it on one character, you actually won't have enough bountiful delves to just do this back to back to back. But the easiest way to go about completing this as quickly as you possibly can is to go queue up for LFR for the raids, because if you go and defeat every boss from all 3 of the raids, you will have 9 bosses, and that's just on one character. So if you go pick up this quest, then go defeat 3 raid bosses in LFR, then go turn in that quest, rinse and repeat, you'll be able to get 3 of the quests done, so you'll be half done. But then if you have any other level 90 ult that can also queue up for LFR, which doesn't require a high item level, you can go do this on any other character, because this is a warband wide. So if you have like 6 different level 90 characters, you can quite easily do this just through LFR, and that will be the fastest method. If you only have 1 level 90, you'll probably have to do a mix of all this content, maybe do other difficulties of the raid. If you can do that, you can go do your bountiful delves, but you only have 4 a day, and then you can go do mythic plus runs. And if you really need to, you can just run +2 mythic plus runs. Those are incredibly easy and are almost the same as mythic 0 runs in terms of difficulty. And also, once you've completed these 6 quests and you have powered up the Voidforge, again, it's warband wide, so you don't have to go do it on any other characters. All you'll need to do on those other characters is go talk to Decimus and use one of the currencies to get the nebulous void cores. And nebulous void cores do have a weekly cap, but that weekly cap increases every week. So if you have new alts you haven't gotten the void cores on yet and you missed a week, you won't have actually missed a week. If this week you don't go get the void cores on one of your alts or something, next week they'll just be able to go and get 4 of them. So the cap is increasing every week, and you can't miss out on any of these nebulous void cores. And once you've completed all 6 of the quests and powered up the Voidforge, you will have to talk to Decimus and do some other small quests with him. It's just one of those things where he's powering something up and he tells you the items you have to throw into it. And then once you've completed that, he will then have 3 options to give him some amount of currency to get your 2 nebulous void cores. You can either give him 5,000 gold, 2,000 void light marl, or 80 veteran crests. And giving him one of those will give you your 2 void cores for that week. I would recommend just use the void light marl. 2,000 of that is incredibly easy to get. And if you're wanting to do this on a bunch of different alts, it will start to add up using, say, gold or veteran crests. So once you've done all of that and you now have your nebulous void cores, you can now go do content and use them on that content to get another guaranteed piece of gear from whatever you're doing. Now they're going to work in a bit of a different way depending on what content you're doing. Now at a baseline, no matter what content you're using one of these bonus roll tokens on, you'll always get a piece of loot, and that piece of loot will always be removed from the loot pool once you've obtained it. So let's say you go and do a Mythic Plus run and you use one of these nebulous void cores on it and you say get a necklace. Well, now that specific necklace from that specific dungeon will no longer be able to be obtained from using your void cores. So it is removing those drops from the loot pool. So it's just allowing you to target farm specific things a lot more easy. So if you're, say, farming a specific trinket from a Mythic Plus dungeon and you go use a void core on it and you don't get it the first time, you will now have a higher chance to get it the second time. If you use another void core on it again, it'll remove the next item you obtained and you'll just have a higher and higher chance to get the item you're actually looking for. And that's true no matter what content you're using it on, and you can use these on Nightmare Praise, on tier 8 or above Bountiful Delves, on any difficulty of the raids. I don't think you could do it on LFR, so I think it's only normal up to Mythic, and on Mythic Plus dungeons. But there are some intricacies within some of this content of how you're going to be using the void cores. So if you're using these void cores on anything outside of raids, it will cost 1 void core and it'll give you that piece of loot. If you're using it in a raid, it will cost 2 instead of 1. And this is because raid bosses have a lot less pieces of loot on the loot table than any of the other content you could be doing. And a lot of the best gear in the game is still from the raid. So it costs 2 to get the 1 piece of loot from the raid. And what's also a little bit different within raids as well is that whatever difficulty you use the void cores in is where the loot will be removed from. So if you go and do the first boss of a raid on normal difficulty and use your void cores to get a bonus piece of loot, it will only remove that loot from normal difficulty. So if you're a raider and let's say you're in heroic difficulty, but you think your guild's going to be going into mythic soon, you may want to save these for mythic, or if you're a normal raider and you're going to be going into heroic soon, you'll want to save them for that and for the specific bosses that you'll think you'll be able to get to. And again, keep in mind, the cap is increasing every week, so you're not losing out on void cores. So if your raid is about to be able to kill like the final boss or something, you may want to save them to be able to get to that point. So let's say in a few weeks, your raid was finally able to kill the boss that dropped a bunch of the best items in the game for your specific spec. You may want to save your void cores for that point. Now, if you're using void cores outside of raid, again, they will only cost 1 void core per piece of loot, but they will also be giving you loot that you would be getting out of your great vault from doing that content. So if you say use these void cores on a tier 8 or above delve, it will always give you a piece of hero track loot. But more importantly, if you use your void cores at the end of a mythic plus dungeon that's 10 or above, it will give you a myth track piece of loot. So unless you're somebody that does absolutely no group content, you should at minimum be using your void cores on a plus 10 Mythic Plus dungeon. And this Mythic Plus season is on the easier side, so just being able to do a plus 10 isn't super difficult this season. So I think for a large majority of the player base, using your void cores on a plus 10 dungeon is going to be the best, because you're not only removing items from the loot pool of that dungeon when you use it, but you're getting myth track gear from the dungeons, which usually you could only get from the Great Vault. So let's say you're looking for something like a puzzle box that's a best in slot trinket for a lot of the classes in the game. Well, normally you're just kind of rolling the RNG dice to try to get it from your vault at the end of the week. But now you could just keep using these every week on Algathar Academy to at some point get your myth track puzzle box. So I think these void cores are actually going to be mostly used in +10 dungeons because that's just the best area to use them on, unless you're able to do more end bosses in the raids on hero difficulty or just do any bosses in the raid on mythic difficulty. But outside of that, +10 mythic plus dungeons to get you those myth track pieces of gear is going to probably be the best use for these. But that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Voidforge this week and how to use and get your nebulous void cores to get some bonus loot that may be on a higher track than you were ever able to obtain before. Like I mentioned, there are ascended void cores that we will also be able to obtain later down the road, but that's in 4 weeks. So once those come around, I'll make a video on those. But this is pretty much all you need to know about everything you can do with the Voidforge as of right now. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.